The reflexive, symmetric, and transitive property are properties of congruence you will use in this lesson. The reflexive property states that a value is equal to itself. For example, segment AB is congruent to segment AB. The symmetric property says we can interchange the sides of an equation, and the equation is still a true statement. For example, if segment AB is congruent to segment CD, then segment CD is congruent to segment AB. The transitive property tells us that if we have two things that are equal to each other, and the second thing is equal to the third thing, then the first thing is also equal to the third thing. For example, if segment AB is congruent to segment CD, and segment CD is congruent to segment EF, then segment AB is congruent to segment EF. Now we are going to go over the angle addition postulate. For an example of the angle addition postulate is if point B is in the interior of AOC, then AOB plus BOC is equal to the measure of angle AOC. Now we are going to use the angle addition postulate and a proof. So your first statement is angle 1 is equal to angle 3 because it's your given statement. Next, we know that angle 2 is equal to angle 2 because of the reflexive property, and the reflexive property states that the value is equal to itself. Next, we could say that angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to angle AEC, and angle 3 plus angle 2 is equal to angle DEB. Now we could say this because of the addition property of equality. And this is kind of where your angle addition postulate comes into play. Lastly, we could say that the measurement of angle AEC is equal to the measurement of angle DEB, and we know this because of substitution. Now we're going to talk about the vertical angles theorem. The vertical angles theorem says that vertical angles are congruent. For example, angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Now we're going to try proof using the vertical angle theorem. So your first statement will be your given statement, which is angle 1 is congruent to angle 4, and your reason will be given. Next, we know that angle 4 is vertical bound from angle 2. Therefore, using the vertical angles theorem, we know that angle 4 is congruent to angle 2. And the reason will be vertical angles are congruent. Next, you know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because of the transitive property of congruence. Now we know that angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical, therefore we know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because vertical angles are congruent. And lastly, we know that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 because of the transitive property of congruence. Now we are going to talk about the segment addition postulate. An example of this is if 3 points A, B, and C are collinear and B is in between A and C, then segment AB plus segment BC is equal to segment AC. Now we're going to use segment addition postulates and a proof. The first statement is segment AB is congruent to segment CD because it's a given statement. Next, we know that segment BC is congruent to segment BC because of the reflexive property, which states that the value is equal to itself. Now, we know that segment AB is congruent to, is equal to segment CD because congruent segments have equal length. Now, using the addition property of equality, we know that segment AB plus segment BC is equal to segment CD plus segment BC. And using the segment addition postulate, we could say that segment AB plus segment BC is equal to AC, and that segment BC plus segment CD is equal to BD. Using with the segment addition postulate. Now, using the substitution property, we could say that segment AC is equal to segment BD. And lastly, segment AC is congruent to segment BD because we know this because equal segments have congruent lengths.